Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to the video. This is another paid request, this time for Vonte. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And Sci-Fighter from 2004. This is a really awful film. I should have known because it's directed by Art Camacho. He's not really the best director out there. And I mean, it's a film that you got Don the Dragon Wilson, you got Cynthia Rothrock, you got Lorenzo Lamas. Just another title this film had was Extreme Fighter. Bob Wall from Enter the Dragon, he's in there as a cameo as an announcer, playing himself. It's one of those films that does feature actual martial artists. Because the way the titles pop up, it's kind of like the Blood Fist movies with Don Wilson, where the name of the person pops up, then what their title is, like championship karate, karate champion, or blah blah blah, like what they've done, what their background is, along with their name in the cast. But probably every Blood Fist film I've seen 4 or 5 of them, 6 of them. I've seen a couple of them, are all better than this. All the Blood Fist movies are better than this because it's done very cheap. The martial arts choreography is very lazy and slow and sluggish. It's poorly shot. There are a lot of times it's shot from kind of the waist up and close ups. Sometimes you think the cameraman is drunk, and they just seem a bit slow. And there's a lot of fights in this. It's just none of them are that good, or that well choreographed, or that fast and kinetic. And I don't know what the fuck happened. It's like they either had no time or they had no budget, thus no time to do it. The setup of the film is Don Wilson. You first see him fighting a guy, and that's where you first see how piss poorly this is shot. From, again, these close ups, and it's sometimes Don's face isn't in frame as he's moving, and we're kind of like behind the guy. It's literally like the guy has the camera, and he just had a bad bender, and he's just trying to keep up with the fight. I mean, what the fuck is going on? So he's got a kid. He doesn't get along well with his kid. His kid at one point is having a party, and he punishes the kid. Don's father, the kid's grandfather, comes by. He's got this game, this VR simulation called Sci-Fighter that he worked on. He worked on with Cynthia Rothrock, who's another scientist. And in the VR simulation, there are versions of themselves in it. At least some of them. Like there is a version of Cynthia Rothrock in the game. I say VR simulation, I mean with really, really, really cheap special effects. That would, even Charles Band would be like, we can't use this shit. I mean, Arcade looked like Terminator 2 compared to some of these effects. And you can tell this is a very cheap budget because, so they worked on this program, the grandpa brings it over, asks Don and the kid, try it out. They try it for a bit. Don gets hit. That really hurt. Let's stop this. I really felt some pain. Okay, fine, I'll work on it. The kid is pissed off at his dad, so he decides to try the VR thing again. Now, I don't know if the whole arc is the kid learning humility or learning to stand up for himself, because he doesn't really do any of that, because Don does all the work. But anyway, he gets stuck there. We find out because of some virus. So the grandpa comes by and he's like, Don, you need to go in there and Okay, you need to defeat all the fighters. Why that was his first thought, I don't know. Would his first thought be, I gotta do these calculations, I gotta find a way maybe to shut off the program, I could do this, some kind of reboot, something? No. You need to defeat the program by beating all the fighters. This is like the first thought the grandpa thinks of. Like, okay, well, I don't know what happened. My grandson is stuck in this. So let me, without knowing exactly what's going on, let me also put my son in the program so he could very well be stuck in there too. And then I'd totally be fucked. Let me make sure it's, not dangerous for you as well. But let me back up a bit. So after the fight Don has with the guy that's really just poorly shot, camera sometimes like, imagine like I'm doing a fight, but the camera like the person's face is over here, and is doing the fight, and the person's face is out of frame, and it's like keep the fucking camera straight, man. Keep it in frame. They'll cut to Lorenzo Lamas. He's in like 3 scenes. So if you're a big Lorenzo Lamas fan, you're not getting much of him in this movie. He's a guy kind of helping Cynthia Rothrock and the older the Don Wilson's father, helping them out. He does a little bit of a test, and it's like a hostage situation where he has a gun, and then someone fights him. He drops the gun, and he keeps walking. Instead of going back and just picking up the gun, he just keeps walking. And I'm like, even if this is a simulation, go back and get the gun. It's not like, oh shit, you hit the gun out of my hand. That gun's gone now. Or is it like one of those video games, like a Final Fight, where you have the knife and then knock out your hand and the knife disappears? Maybe if they show like the gun disappearing, that would have made sense, but like I said, it would have made sense, and this movie doesn't want to do that. So he just walks slowly in these little fights that are really nothing to run home about. Very quick, very the least amount of choreography as possible. He fails the simulation. He pops up. He tries to hit on Cynthia Rothrock. Doesn't work out. And yet he only appears like 2 more times. One time to talk with Cynthia, and okay, you know what? You go out the back. Whatever you need to do, I'll be here. We're never see that guy, that Lorenzo Lamas again. The third last time we see is later on. I guess his simulation self, there's some weird glitch where his simulation self is in there too, doing the same hostage thing. But then Don goes in, saves the hostage, looks at Lorenzo Lamas, because they know each other in the real world. Now they think, okay, the simulation of Lorenzo Lamas is going to go with him. It's going to help him. No. They just say hi, they leave, and then you never see Lorenzo Lamas ever again. So, I guess maybe some deal where they got Lorenzo Lamas for like 2 days, but we could put him on the cover, and okay. Cynthia Rothrock doesn't have a whole lot more than that to do. I mean, she appears a couple times. She comes to the house. Doesn't really do anything. She just kind of sits there. And then the game she plays, I forget what her title is, but she's wearing white. She has this very badly wire work fight with this other lady, and you can tell that's wire work. I mean, it's like 2 shades away from just holding the wires and doing it. I mean, why did it even have to be wire work in the first place? It's Cynthia Rothrock. You don't need fucking wire work with Cynthia Rothrock. Why even approach it that way? And that's like the only fight she gets. That's like the only fight she gets is this really piss poor wire work fight. I don't understand that. Now, Don, like I said, when he gets in, he's supposed to fight all these fighters. There's a karate guy. There's a Street Fighter guy that's pretty much kind of pushing Don and trying to do these elbows and knees, and Don beats him pretty quickly. Sometimes there's these random ninjas, like there's five ninjas, or there's these twins, and he fights these twins. And in the middle of it, these twins start doing like the robot and Elvis, and it's like there's a monkey kung fu guy wearing like a looking like a brown ninja, the shit ninja, great, the ninja that came out of your britches. And if I know it seems like I'm just going all over the place because really when Don gets into the thing to find his son, once in a while his son, I forget the guy who plays his son, seems like they're a good martial artist in terms of his move set, how quick he is. But his character, for the most part, is supposed to get his ass kicked. He does beat up a few people, though. Not sure about his acting ability, but he seemed pretty good martial arts wise. But this is more Don Wilson show. And I will say, Don the Dragon Wilson, I've grown to like him more in movies. He's not the strongest actor. And I know he doesn't like Van Damme, but I do think Jean-Claude Van Damme has more charisma than Don. And more of that star power quality. But I've grown to like Don. I mean, I liked most of the Blood Fist films I saw and reviewed. I liked those. Cyber Tracker 1 and 2 I remember liking. I think I didn't mind Ring of Fire 2, but it's been forever since I've seen that. So, you know, like I say, you might not be the best actor, but I've grown to not mind Don Wilson. And let's say his acting is not the greatest here, but there's a little bit of quality to him. I don't know how to put it that I don't mind. His voice, his cadence, I don't mind. Even when I say he's not the best actor. But I could deal with them, if that makes sense. Despite his... I said... Again, not only is his delivery of dialogue not the best in naturalness, but sometimes his fights, like, it must be just who is there to choreograph them, because a lot of the fights in Blood Fist movies, especially Blood Fist 2, he's really good in the movie fights. Of course, he's a kickboxer champion, not denying that, but just in movies, sometimes he's made to look more sluggish or made to look more slow, and it's either the people they got that he's got to protect so that they don't get their ass beat, or I guess, I don't know what the deal is. People smart out there could tell me why that's the case. And like I said, Don gets into these fights, but he's come off as really poor in choreography, or a lot of times these waist shots. And then if there is a wider shot, it's a little bit slower than it should. And also, I thought it was funny that the device that is the Sci-Fighter device, it looks like a GameCube. And you put on these helmets that look like bicycle helmets. So a GameCube and bicycle helmets. And also, I never understood that VR simulation thing. I mean, in the Matrix, it makes sense because it's all in the mind. So you're trying to train your mind into how to go all topsy-turvy like you can in the Matrix. Because they're both sort of these mind-centered environments. So you train your mind in this to prepare for your mind in this serious situation. But to train in VR for what happens in the real world, that never made sense to me. Because how does the VR simulation train your muscles? Because you may know what you want to do, but your muscles may not be quick enough to follow through those actions. I could train my mind to do a backflip. Doesn't mean my body will be able to do that fucking backflip. That's why you need to train your muscles too. That's why I think VR training in movies like this never made any damn sense, because your mind's one thing, but the how quick you are, the muscles have to be able to follow through on what you want to do. So, but I mean, also this was kind of past the VR stage. Like VR was in the realm like Lawnmower Man, like the '90s, mid to late '90s, like Virtuosity and maybe even Strange Days and like those type of mid late '90s. By 2004, that was kind of went away. So this seemed like an idea that they wanted that would have been done like 10 years earlier. And like I say, it's just Don ending these fights, which seems good. Hey, Broken Fist, aka Broken Path, with Johnny on Botch is pretty much one giant fight scene, but those fights are fantastic and brutal. Yeah, it doesn't make the lick of sense because by 10 minutes in, they all show every bone should be broken in everybody's body and they wouldn't be able to move. But I overlooked that because, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but goddamn, it's fun and well choreographed and brutal and violent. Not the case in this. I mean, violent? No. I mean, honestly, violence wise, this could be PG. I don't know what the rating was, but it could be PG. PG. You didn't see anything violent? Didn't see anything bloody? I get the idea of like each fight trying to have a different type of opponent. Like the Street Fighter guy, maybe he's good in real life, but in the movie he's kind of just pushing him against this fence and there's not a whole lot to it. There's a guy on a beach. It's pretty much grappling and wrestling on the sand. Idea is like supposed to be a different type of fight, but and the way it was shot just looked like people just fucking around on the sand, wrestling each other, and you need timing, you need a different director. And then the guy that you think is the main bad guy is this big muscle guy with it's like a white mohawk, but they're horns. Imagine a mohawk, but each one's like a white horn. And then you find out that the main bad guy is this woman who's a virus and fights her, defeats her. Spoiler alert: Cynthia Rothrock comes in, gives him her power, so he's able to escape. His son has escaped before that. Then everything's peachy. Oh, during the fight with the virus, like when they hit each other, like when Don hits the virus lady, like this bad purple graphics shoot out. I don't know how that fuck else to put it. Like you hit and it's like this purple bad computer graphics just shoot out. Like I don't even know what the hell you call it. Other than just it looked like a bunch of feces. There's a giant the movie's one giant feces. You can't flush down the toilet, so you need the plunger. Yeah, this movie is just. And what's funny also is that on the YouTube, or YouTube, not the YouTube, but on the YouTube, someone uploaded. I guess when they upload it, there's a piece of music they got copyrighted because when you watch it, it was a very weirdly edited scene because it will go from the signed what was it trying to remember the way it was edited. I think I wrote it down actually. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, Don training kids. Then it goes to a random party, which we don't know what this party's about. Then it goes back to the scientists. And I'm like, what the fuck was that party about? It's not until much later on that we realize, oh, this is Don's house. And Don's kid is having the party. But the fact it took the audience a bit to figure that out. Maybe when you cut to the party, you establish that's Don's kid and it's Don's house. Then that would make more sense. But it was during that where music kind of gets cut off, and then this other piece of music pops up. So that's not the movie's fault. It's just, I guess, the person who uploaded the film. They need to put a different piece of music so that the fix that copyright. Which I was able to listen to with the outro music, just some shitty rap song. But yeah, it's a waste of Lorenzo Lamas. He's only in 3 scenes. He gets one fight scene, which is not that well choreographed. He beats Don the Dreaded Wilson for 15 seconds. They're on screen together. Cynthia Rothrock has like one fight, and it's a poorly done wirework fight. Like there's some bits where they're doing stick back and forth, but then it gets into wirework. A waste of Cynthia Rothrock. The other fight scenes are just very boring, very sluggish, very slow, not that well shot. The effects, the graphics are again Charles Band arcade type level, although maybe even arcade I would say is a bit better. These other guys might be and women might be fighters and champions, but they surely didn't seem like they were showcased that well in this movie. Oh, another recognizable guy. The guy who played the grandpa, the scientist. Don Wilson's dad. That is... Did he get his name? Aiti Alion? I recognize him. He's the bad guy in Braddock. Missing in Action 3. I'm like, I knew he looked familiar. I don't step on toes. I step on necks. Much better action film than this. That one line in that movie is better than anything in this movie. Also, like when Don and his kid go in the VR, they did these really awful looking costumes. They look like bad cosplay for Dragon Ball Z or something. So yeah, this movie is just absolute fucking junk. Absolute fucking junk, man. Jesus Christ. Take that for you will. I think it's just like a 2.79 to be understandable. But it's for free on YouTube if you need to watch it. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.